how do you assess if an ERP system is ready for AI augmentation? What signals or metrics should we look for?
That's an interesting question. When you say is an ERP system ready for AI, all systems are ready for AI. In fact, AI is system agnostic. It doesn't matter whether or not you have a legacy system, a modern ERP system. It's just kind of looking back at you as a mirror. And the reason why this is the case is the connective thread for AI, the backbone of your organization, really, and certainly the backbone of any system is your data. That's what feeds the AI.
Right.
So before you kind of get into is an ERP system are ready for AI. I think the more relevant question is more on the data side. And is your data ready for AI? Does your organization, in terms of how it manages and understands its data, is that part are ready for AI? So I think this is a data conversation we're having, and not really a systems conversation. ERP system does have functions and features on the AI side. Those functions and features may or may not be great use cases for what you're going through. But AI, you can develop your own, and it can certainly use the data that's in an ERP system. It can use the data that's outside of your ERP system. It can use external data. You can feed AI data from the internet, seasonal data, weather information. When you kind of get into logistics and that sort of thing, right? It can kind of give you predictive scheduling around where your shortages are going to be just based on seasonality. I mean, it's that level of complex, but it's all based on data.
Right.
And so, and more than it's based on what system does that information live in.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's the case is because in all ERP systems modern have really just dealt with this from a software as a service perspective. They're all integration oriented. It's because AI is really an API. It is just how you integrate with AI sources to sort of unlock a lot of those features and functions.
That's an interesting way to look at it. I guess I've never thought of AI as an API, but it sort of is. It sort of fills that role, you know, of what middleware or BI and
It's
analytics.
exactly that's exactly what's happening, at least from my the way I have simplified it in order for my small brain to start to get some sense around what is going on here. How
Yeah.
does open API? That's right now. You can go developer license right now and build Chat GPT type of functions within your website.
Yeah.
Within your small kind of development. How do you do that? You just go into tap in to get a developer license. They'll charge you a small fee there. It won't be that much up front. And once you have that API tapped into your application, it then unlocks all of those features that AI has, and now your website has it or your application has it. So that's the way I think about it, and it kind of, once I think about it that way, then it sort of opens up, I think, a lot of why I think your use cases are wide open. All you
Yeah.
have to do is figure them out, and then you're kind of open to a lot of features and functions to sort of deal with that are outside of your current capabilities.
Yeah, and you talked last time you were on this podcast when you and I talked about AI. You made a comment around ERP and AI, just to back up for a minute. I mean, this sort of relates back to the original question of how do you assess if an ERP system is ready for AI? First of all, all the ERP vendors, all the major ERP vendors are investing heavily in R&D for AI. I mean, they're all doubling down on AI, just like they double down on cloud and SaaS solutions. So they're in on this whole AI thing. But you have some strong opinions on, do you need to rely on your ERP vendor to provide AI capabilities, or is it better to go off on your own and find sort of a standalone AI tool set that you can then integrate or lay on top of your ERP system? Or how do you view that, or how do you navigate that decision?
I think it goes back what we're talking about in our conversation. We're back in a use case conversation, and think about the time to implement here. If you already have an ERP system in place, and that ERP system has AI functions that are helpful, Just think about those use cases. If those use cases are applicable to what you're going through, why go through the exercise of this extended implementation or building out kind of an AI solution for features that you already have at your fingertips?
Right.
You don't necessarily need it. So, but then there are going to be some features and functions that may live outside of your ERP system, and a lot of that might be because of your model. Maybe your ERP system doesn't touch all of your data. Maybe it's just a level of complexity that they haven't been able to get to. Maybe there's a uniqueness or an advantage that you're trying to build in as a use case that the ERP system doesn't have scope for. So all of those things, I think, really start to tell the tale for, does it make sense for me to use AI through my ERP system, or does it make sense for us to look at other routes? But either way, you got to do the work. I think it comes back to the strategy element and really understanding where your organization is going and what does it need its AI to kind of look like to be competitive in the marketplace.